This weekend, the U.S. government gave up control of the so-called Internet Address Book. Tony DeCopel explains what that is and how it might impact the Internet.
No one owns the Internet, but for nearly 20 years, the U.S. government has controlled the official list of every website address. As of today, the government's control is no more. The job now belongs solely to ICANN, a nonprofit based in Los Angeles and advised by a global committee that includes China, Russia, and Iran.
When you look up a website, your computer looks for the information on another machine, like one of these, and it uses a unique identifying number, a bit like a home address, for the Internet.
If ICANN deletes an address, it could, in effect, delete a website, a threat that caught the eye of Texas Senator Ted Cruz.
Russia and China and Iran don't have a First Amendment. They don't protect free speech, and they actively censor the Internet. ICANN could do the same thing, putting foreign countries in charge of what you can say online.
Cruz launched a countdown to the day America, quote, gives away the Internet. The Donald Trump campaign joined in, hoping to, quote, save the Internet. But in a statement, ICANN's board chair, Stephen Crocker, praised his group's inclusion of all voices and said the fear is misplaced.
Well, the Facebook police have officially blocked at least 100,000, quote, hate posts by the German people in just 1 month. Virginia Hale for Breitbart reports that Facebook revealed that within the last month, it deleted 100,000 posts by German users for containing hate. My friends, this is the beginning of the scrubbing of anything you consider free speech.
Now it's time to take a look at some of the stuff that's going on at colleges around the country. The Outdoors Club at the Claremont Colleges in California has canceled an annual event out of concern that it wasn't inclusive to overweight or unfit students. The group's Speedo Hike was an annual event in which students would hike a mountain in swimwear and Speedos, the classic tight-fitting swimming briefs for men. A post on the group's Facebook page says the event sent the incorrect message that to participate in the club, quote, you must be fit and comfortable with your body image. The name Speedo itself inherently implies broiness, whatever that means. Students at Texas A&M have called on the university to develop mandatory racism awareness courses. The website Heat Street first reported that a student group known as TAMU Anti-Racism met with the university president to discuss plans for the course. A student who supports the class told Heat Street, quote, racial justice is just as important as mathematics, English, and science, and needs to be treated as such. The university tells Fox News the decision to add the class is up to the faculty senate. Students who want to write chalk message on the campus of Appalachian State University will find that they're apparently not protected by the First Amendment. The university revised its policy on on-campus chalkings after pro-Donald Trump messages appeared on campus. The website Campus Reform, which covers college news, published pictures of the chalkings online. The university website now says, quote, permission to chalk is limited to recognized student organizations and university departments, end quote. In an email to students published by Campus Reform, the university chancellor Sherry Everett said, free speech is encouraged, quote, but, quote, university administrators can support free speech while also taking a stand. The university tells Fox News that the rule change did follow the pro-Trump chalkings, but there were other chalkings as well.
NBA star blatantly disrespecting our West Point cadets. Joakim Noah of New York Knicks skipping the team's annual training camp dinner at the academy because it conflicts with his anti-war views. Noah saying in part, I have a lot of respect for the kids who are out here fighting, but it's hard for me to understand why we have to go to war, why kids have to kill kids around the world.
The White House wants a new racial category for people from the Middle East and North Africa. Right now, people from that area of the world are considered white, according to the U.S. Census data. If the proposal is approved, a new race category could be on government forms as early as 2020. The new category would be called MENA and would cover those from countries in those two regions. The move is over 70 years in the making. In 1944, the U.S. government designated MENA Americans as white. At the time, it was thought of as a good thing. Until 1952, only people considered white could become citizens. But then the designation became troublesome. The MENA American population grew and became more diverse, but a unique identity didn't come along with it. Many people believe the additional category could help curb discrimination in the workplace and in obtaining housing, grants, and loans. but critics have said it's just a way for the government to further target and monitor certain groups of people. The U.S. Census Bureau also wants to find a way to include people of Turkish, Sudanese, and Somali heritage in the upcoming census.
Singapore's defense minister has warned about a growing threat posed by violent extremist groups in Southeast Asia. Ng Eng Hen made the remarks after a meeting of Southeast Asian defense ministers with their U.S. counterpart Ash Carter in Hawaii, and said that extremist groups are becoming more organized and focused on their targets year by year. He added that 1,000 Southeast Asians have left home to join Daesh in Iraq and Syria. The Singaporean minister also expressed concern over those who have returned to their homelands after receiving training in Iraq and Syria by the terrorists. Authorities in Southeast Asia have been on high alert since ISIL claimed an attack in the Indonesian capital Jakarta in January, in which several people were killed.
Bulgaria's parliament has approved a law banning full-face veils in public places. People who break the new law will face a fine of up to 1,500 levs, or more than $800. Muslims make up 13% of Bulgaria's population. Opposition parties and human rights groups have condemned the law, saying it reflects and encourages intolerance and racism. France and Belgium have imposed similar bans.
The latest Bank of Italy's statistical bulletin shows that further 900 Italian bank branches were shut down in the year to June. The number of bank offices had already gone down from 35,000 in 2010 to about 29,000 in June this year, with roughly 30,000 jobs wasted. Italy's banking system is strained by hundreds of billions of euros of bad loans, and many of its big and smaller banks are on their knees.
The EU's rules on state aid to banks is limiting any role the Italian government can play in a bailout. Now, JP Morgan, the largest bank in the United States, has reportedly positioned itself as Italy's best hope. But can JP Morgan, an institution that has paid multi-billion penalties for its role in the 2008 financial crisis in the United States, be a credible partner for Italian banks? Can it really save Italy's banking system?
Looks like Deutsche Bank won't be getting a bailout after all. Given the hard line Berlin has taken against state aid in other European nations and the risk of a political backlash at home, German Chancellor Angela Merkel cannot afford to bail out the country's biggest bank. According to Reuters, the government denied a newspaper report on Wednesday that it was working on a rescue plan for Deutsche Bank as its shares went into a tailspin. The plunge in share price was fueled by U.S. Department of Justice demand for a settlement of up to $14 billion for mis-selling mortgage-backed securities before the Great Recession of 2007.
Well, the bank run has begun. Deutsche Bank hedge fund clients are now withdrawing excess amounts of cash. That's according to Zero Hedge. They are reporting that Deutsche Bank concerns just went to 11 as Bloomberg reports. A number of funds that clear derivatives trades with Deutsche Bank AG have withdrawn some excess cash, and positions held at the lender is a sign of counterparties mounting concerns about doing business with Europe's largest investment bank.
Iran's Revolutionary Guard says it has built a new attack drone. The commander of the Guard's aerospace division says it's a long-range drone capable of carrying 4 smart bombs to strike targets with high precision. Iran reported in 2011 that it had captured an RQ-170 drone. It says it reverse engineered the drone in 2013 to form the basis of its new unmanned aircraft. Iran's Supreme National Security Council says this will significantly add to Iran's power of deterrence.
As reports from Russia suggest it's sending more warplanes to Syria, the offensive by President Assad's military on the ground is stepping up a gear. Fighting's intensified a week into a new Russian-backed Syrian government push to capture rebel-held eastern Aleppo. Pro-regime forces say they are taking territory. Russia's Izvestia newspaper reported the arrival of warplanes at a base in Syria, with more on the way.
Russia has once again criticized the United States policies in Syria as tensions between the two countries keeps escalating. Russia's Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharov said that the U.S. direct aggression against Syrian forces would lead to, quote, frightening tectonic shifts in the Middle East.
The frustration is obvious.
4 people in the administration who have all argued for your support, and I must get it. I've argued for use of force. I stood up, I'm the guy who stood up and announced we're going to attack us because of the weapons.
The 40-minute video was released by the New York Times. At a meeting on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly on September 22nd, Kerry told a group of Syrians that his call for U.S. action against the Assad government was not backed by U.S. military force. The approximately 20 participants included representatives of 4 Syrian groups that provide education, rescue, and medical services in rebel-held areas. The meeting took place days after a ceasefire Kerry had negotiated with Russia collapsed in the Syrian city of Aleppo. The Syrians also expressed frustration with the United States.
So you think the only solution is for somebody to come in and get rid of Assad?
Yeah.
That's the only solution. Yeah. Who's that going to be? Who's going to do that?
3 years ago, I would say you, but right now I don't know.
The U.S. Secretary of State defended the situation in Syria as it becomes more and more complicated as many countries are involved. He said any further efforts by the U.S. to arm rebels or join the fight could backfire.
South Korean fighter jets have arrived in Alaska to take part in a joint drill with the United States and other allies. Air Force officials say the 6 F-15Ks will be stationed at the Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska for the duration of the 3-week Red Flag exercise that starts on Monday. The multinational exercise also involves the air forces of New Zealand and NATO. It's thought this year's drill could include a simulation of surgical attacks on nuclear facilities. The Red Flag exercise will start just a matter of weeks after North Korea conducted its 5th nuclear test on September 9th.
Villagers who live along the line of control in Kashmir protested against the shelling of their village by the Indian Army as tensions between India and Pakistan escalate over the disputed border area. The neighbouring nations exchanged fire on Saturday morning, with each side blaming the other for firing the first shot.
Palawala village, located between the line of control and an army brigade, is like a haunted village today. After heavy gunfire from across the border, people have fled from here for safety. Keval Kishan, who runs a shop, is among the last few leaving the village. He is rushing as he has been informed that cross-border firing can start anytime soon. The city hospitals are taking all necessary steps to deal with any eventuality. Special wards have been reserved and a control room with information of all medical expertise available in Jammu city has been set up.
The fiercest storm to cross the Caribbean for years is forecast to make landfall on Monday in Jamaica and Haiti. Cubans at least have until early Tuesday to get ready. The government's declared the first stage of an emergency in 5 eastern provinces on the storm's predicted path. President Raul Castro travelled to the city of Santiago de Cuba to oversee preparations. The US has ordered the evacuation of all personnel and their families from the Guantanamo naval base. Jamaica and Haiti will be the first to take the full force of the Caribbean's worst storm since 2007. Hurricane Matthews packing winds up to 240 kilometers an hour and bringing with it heavy rain which could trigger deadly floods and landslides. Residents in the Jamaican capital, Kingston, are preparing as best they can, stocking up on food and fuel.
It's known as the volcano of fire, and with western Mexico's Colima volcano roaring into life, it's time for those who live in its shadow to pack up and get out. Civil protection teams have been encouraging hundreds of local villagers to evacuate since Colima began spewing ash and thick black smoke into the sky on Friday. They're being housed in a nearby shelter until it's safe to return home.
Overflowing rivers are causing flooding in several areas near the capital city, Adelaide. Authorities have lined the banks of the Gawler and Wakefield rivers with 60,000 sandbags. 80,000 recorded lightning strikes have damaged power lines across the state. Outages have affected over 1 million residents. The weather is expected to worsen and citizens have been told to prepare. Experts say up to 100 millimeters of rain is expected to fall on the Adelaide Hills region from Sunday to Tuesday.
Viva Papa! This is how Catholics of Georgia welcomed Pope Francis at the Tbilisi airport. He arrived in Georgia for a two-day visit to promote peace, unity and reconciliation, as he tweeted ahead of the visit. Head of the Georgian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Ilias II, hailed the visit of Pope Francis as a historic event. During a meeting at the Georgian Patriarchate, Patriarch Ilias II expressed hope it would further strengthen bilateral relations.
From a Hebrew scroll burned beyond recognition, researchers have resurrected one of the earliest known versions of the Old Testament. They used a new digital reconstruction technique that they believe may be invaluable in revealing words from other previously unreadable finds. In research published in Science Advances, computer analysts at the University of Kentucky in Lexington virtually unwrapped a roll of parchment that had been reduced to a lump of charcoal in a burning synagogue 1,500 years ago, without ever actually touching the artifact.
First, we capture the 3D shape of the layers of the scroll in a process called segmentation. On the left side of the screen, the software moves through the scroll, image by image, tracing the shape of a single scroll wrap. On the right, we see the 3D model that this produces. Next, we extract the ink from the data in a process called texturing,
revealing the text on the scroll.
However, because the surface is curved, it's difficult to read all of the text from one viewpoint. The flattening stage of our pipeline converts this textured 3D surface into a flat plane so that the text can be more easily read. To produce the best results, these 3 steps must be performed on one small section of the scroll at a time.
Each section is then merged together, producing a single consolidated image that shows the full text, that turned out to be verses from the book of Leviticus. Religious scholars in Israel who analyzed the text said it's the earliest known copy of a central book of the Torah exhumed from a holy ark, one that's identical to the text printed in most versions of the Hebrew Bible today. The scientists plan to make this digital reconstruction technique freely available, which may prove useful for forensic experts and intelligence agencies looking to recover words from texts damaged by fire or shredding.